Now, what I have on the screen is the rough drawing of Fukushima, and you've got your 6 reactors. You've got to cover them all up because the other ones are useless. So you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's your number 4 here. So we have a problem in the sense that when they built them to suffer. See, this drops off here into a deep sea. So when a tsunami comes in, which was caused by a bomb dropped off the Ronald Reagan carrier, the bomb sent the wave up, and of course when it hit here, it just come up, and it's about 8 or 9, 10 metres high, and just took out the entire structures. Although they had a 7-metre wall, it wasn't high enough. You see, they didn't spend the extra couple of $1,000 to get it higher. So what we have then is a aquifer running off the mountains here, which actually feeds water to Tokyo. And you've got to get rid of that, because if you don't, if these melt down and hit the water, it'll set off a nuclear explosion that would make Chernobyl, that was threatening, a 3-megaton bomb that could destroy Europe. And the Russians, after thousands died, they were able to contain it by putting a covering over the top of the reactor. Now, what we have in Fukushima is a tremendous problem. These all have to be covered. So I come up with a few ideas how the best way you can do that. But really, you've got a lot of smart engineers out there. Unfortunately, they're all dominated by these demons that are inside you, or them. Now, what I wanted to prove to the world is how the measuring of the earth with the King James Bible, as a Lucifer Bible as it is, it's not in the actual what's in the Bible. It is in the codes and the number of words that make up the Hebrew Old Testament and of course the New Testament. So there are 8674 words in the Old Testament. If we nominate this as 8.674 years, it converts to 3168 days. And 86.74 years was the age Benedict was on my birthday in 2014. There are 5624 words in the Greek New Testament. Subtract the 5624 from the 8674, we have 3050. And this word is jar, found only once in the Old Testament. This is an indication the New Testament has removed jar, and it is Psalm 68:4. Sing unto God, sing praises to his name, extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name Jah, and rejoice before him. Well, the Old Testament, of course, is not anything to do with Jah, because it's all been taken over by the Pharisees out of Babylon, 500 BC, and they wrote the Torah. Now, when King James, who had his mother to worry about for all his life up until he was the age of 21, when the Freemasons had set her up and charged her with treason while she's under house arrest by Elizabeth, and he never got to see or hear from his mother from the age of 2. All communication was cut off. So she was beheaded when he was 21. He was still king of Scotland from the age of 2. And he begged Elizabeth not to do it. But she was a psychopath and did it anyhow. She was the daughter of King Henry VIII, and he had syphilis, so the likelihood of she had syphilis also. And that causes insanity anyhow. So what the king did, he, with William Shakespeare, whose name was Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxley, they arranged the Bible that was a manuscript handed to him that had been translated in the Freemason universities of England, and he knew that they were Lucifer, so he put in there the number 666, and of course the only way he could do that was come up with the word Lord, 6666. This is why I got all these new translations. Now I'm going to show you how it all fits together. I had to experience 3 dreadful women in my life, and the third one was Mary Magdalene reincarnate. The first one was Lucifer in the flesh, and the next one was Jezebel. So I had to experience these women because of the children. The children were either my genetic offspring with the first wife, or the others that, for example, my second wife, she was pregnant, and I told her not to take anything for the nauseous that she was feeling in the last week. She went to this doctor. He gave her some pills, which I said to him, this man's a demon, don't take them. She took them and the baby died. And that's a heart-wrenching experience for any man who loses a child, or woman who loses a child. Possibly worse for a woman. But she just said, oh, just going to forget about the whole thing. The third one was Mary Magdalene, and I came from Canada, and I met her at a dance called Rembrandt's. And when I walked into the Rembrandt's hall, I was with my brother. I didn't go there to meet women. I just went for the meal and to listen to the music and watch the youngsters dancing about. And she was standing there, and the angel picked me up and moved me up from behind, and I grabbed her by the shoulders and I spun her around, still holding on, in a sort of a headlock. Next dance, she said, yeah. So this was what happened. So as it turns out, from that point onwards, and I'll take care of this dog. So from that point onwards, I was with Michelle, and I rebuilt a old weatherboard, or run down rather, weather-beaten property that she inherited from her mother, who lived at 666 Main Road in Eltham. So that gives you a bit of a clue that we're dealing with the devil here. So I knew I was in for another high jump. However, the location was 3742.477 by 145.05697. The 697 is how many times the word I am is found in the Old Testament, or in the Bible entirely. And that 697 is Marshall in Greek. Now, from there to Mount Kosciuszko, the highest mountain in Australia, is 169.4 nautical miles. 1694 is the word Emmanuel, which is found in Matthew 1:23, and Matthew 1:23 has a value in Greek gematria of 8880. And when I was 8880 days old, I was in Port Alberni, Canada. The sunrise to sunset was 888 minutes. My daughter was born. And so we rolled back time 280 days to her conception date. It was 29th of July 1967. If you look above, you'd find that Jupiter was above for 888 minutes, and it's 88,800 miles wide. So I already knew I was in the high jump, if you like. I had to do these things. Now, I was 22.28 years old when I married my first wife, which is 1162.6 weeks, and that is the age difference between Mary Magdalene, who was Michelle Nye, 1162.6 days, and her youngest stepdaughter and my eldest daughter was 11.626 years apart. So you can see where I'm going with this. So, the home itself was 5813 kilometres from the South Pole and sat on a latitude which is 31680 around the entire Earth in kilometres, Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I advise you not to use Google Earth. You can't get any sense out of it. I've picked them up 3 times over the years, and each time I do that, they change the numbers. But on short distances, you can get away with it, but long distances, like from where the solar eclipse occurred on the 25-degree latitude to where I was born was 8888.8 miles. Well, they've changed that. You can only do it with Magellan GPS or proper software that we use in the handheld GPS units or aircraft. So, move to the next slide. Now the following drawings are quite extraordinary, and they include the number 2228, which is the height of the Mount Kosciuszko, which is the highest mountain in Australia, and that's the age I was when I married. So 22.28 years is 1162.6 weeks, and convert that to feet, it is 7,309 feet. But if we measure from there 7309 miles, and remembering that it is 169.4, there we go again. We measure to a point on the earth which is very, very unusual. I'll just show you what that is. So that line there is 31680 kilometres around the earth, 5813 kilometres to the South Pole, which is the height of the completed pyramid, 5813 Nordic pyramid inches. The line here, if you measure from, you see the two red lines to the left on the top there, that's from Mount Kosciuszko. That's 169.4 nautical miles, and that line there goes around the other side, and they come out down here, that point and that point there, and they're 3050 kilometres apart, and that one is 5624, which is a value of how many words there are in the New Testament concordance, and from there to there is 8674. So the top one is 3903 miles from Mount Kosciuszko. The bottom one is 7903. I'll just run that down a little bit so you can see it a bit better. There it is. 7930 around the earth to the bottom line, which is there. So it's coming around the earth. So that one is 8674 high. So we've got those two numbers that are found by taking two distances, one in nautical miles, one in statute miles, and one is 169.4 nautical miles. The point is, you'd never dream this up. Einstein would be stunned by all this. All right? Now, Einstein was a very good man. Don't get me wrong there. He's a lovely man. But he's just wrong on a few points, and I just had to correct him, that's all. So that's what it looks like taking another map. This is a map I got off of one of the old programs I had, so you can see the 1694 nautical miles, 1.694. We see the 5813, which is the height of the pyramid with the capstone in place. Nell Street to the pole, that is, 5813 kilometres. We have the top line, which is 7309 to that point there. We have this one here, which is statute miles, that's nautical miles, and that's statute miles. The distance is 3050, which is the difference between 8674 and 5624. That's Hebrew and that's Greek concordance numbers. All right, you follow me? Now, if you take the distance around the earth, there, and you see this is larger, so you subtract that from that one, it gives you 4443. Huh? So there you go. Now what's the 4443? Well, the word God is found in 3877 verses, and that's where I was born, in the maternity ward of St Margaret's Hospital, to the South Pole, in miles, is 3877. So, how many times how many times the word God is found. In it, there are 4443 occasions that the word God is found in the 3877 verses. Of course, in some verses there's God twice. So that's where you end up with. Now, on the day I was born, we set this up, and this is Solar System Scope. Anyone can get it. It's downloadable from the internet. They'll probably change it, so be careful. However, I've always got the original copy, so if it gets stuck, I'll send you a copy of it because it was free. And we've got the distances from Jupiter. So I measure from Jupiter. Why? Because it's 88,800 miles across, and as I said, it was above Port Alberni when I conceived my daughter on the 29th of July 1967. So you measure out on my date I was born. You set it for London, because that's when the point of this works out. You can set it for Sydney if you want, doesn't matter. It doesn't make much difference in a few hours. So you've got all these distances, which are the Sun, 534 astronomical units, 504 astronomical units for Mercury, 5.66 for Venus, Earth is 4.52, Mars is 4.46, Saturn is 7.44, and a total 3168, which is Lord Jesus Christ. Now, I'll let you have a look at that for a little while. That'll let it sink in. You can always come back to it. In 1 Chronicles 5:13, there's 7 names. They total 31106. And I do this because the age difference between my youngest daughter and my youngest stepdaughter is 777 days, which is 2.127 years. And that's the word Zia in the Old Testament. It's found only once in all the 650,000 words. And her mother, her name is Rhiannon, 20th of December 1979, she was born. And Nicole was born on November the 2nd in the year 1977. So the difference is 777 days, 2.127. And Rhiannon's mother was 32.75. They're found side by side in 1 Chronicles 5:13. And there's 7 names in there which all have a concordance number. Add them all up, you get to 31106. Isaiah 7:14. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Now what I've done is I've divided the 31106 by the 7 names, and it gives you an average of 4443.714. So 714 Isaiah. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. I have to hurry up, I'm running out of time. It has an English gematria of 1064. Hebrew 1064 is from 1062. There's the mongrel barking again. It means birthright, firstborn. In Greek, 1064 is a woman or with child in the womb. This sign is Matthew 1:23 that is talked about in Isaiah 7:14. Therefore, it is saying it has a Greek gematria of 8880, and we go back to the age I was when I was a father to Tracy Lee, born in Port Alberni, and 888 minutes. Now remember what I said, she is 11.626, which is the width of the antechamber of the Great Pyramid, which I won't do at the moment. Matthew 1:23 has a value of 1204. Added to this 1064 of the Isaiah there, and we end up with 2268. 2268 is the name Isaiah in the Greek concordance. And the word is Isaiah and Jah together. Now there's your 1 Chronicles 5:13. Now the distance between the 2 homes I built in Canada are 444.3 kilometres apart. There it is there. There it is there, up close on Vancouver Island. Now all this area is now being radiated, and these are my people as well. They're all being radiated. I have to save them as well. So I want you to get your finger out your bum and just study something like that, and I'll just end it there because it gets a bit frustrating for me. Now just to recap, we've got to get rid of the water that's flowing through the sea underneath the 6 reactors. Now they were purposely done, and I can't make that point too clear to you. They want to kill everybody on earth because these are demons. They occupy human beings, and of course the easiest way to do that is offer them power, positions, women, whatever they want. So in order to cut the water off where they were flowing under the reactors, with high explosives you can build yourself a canal and divert the water around to the sea, away from the reactors. You bring in the iron ore from Australia, helicopters can fly in above the radiation level and just keep dropping them. That's the easiest way of doing it. You don't have to worry about anything else, just do that. So you build it up. Meanwhile, you've got your people to mine underneath here and then send a shaft down as deep as possible towards the magma. And then the same would apply building a catchment, either as wide as with tunnels tapering down. You engineers can work it out, use this way of doing it, and then let these go to meltdown when the water is clear. And the meltdown will go straight through, and that's why it's called the China syndrome. It'll go straight down into the magma. I'm going to do a comparison in this between Fukushima and Chernobyl. The following slides show the past effects of Chernobyl that is nothing compared to what the Zionists have in store with Fukushima. Chernobyl was not an accident, it was sabotage. Eventually, after a nationwide cover-up, the entire site was enclosed in a sarcophagus. It cost thousands of lives and ongoing deformities and a host of illnesses. Fukushima is 300 times more dangerous. 30 years ago, the Russians came up with the idea to cover the plant over and are now building another to enclose it as it was deteriorating. The new sarcophagus will cost $1 billion, and of course they've got no money. In the 1960 era, Japan established an iron ore operation in Dampier, West Australia. I worked on the project in 1965, late 1965, early 66. While there I took a sample of ore straight off the open cut, cliff face, then placed welding rods, and I was able to draw an arc with the rod on the pure iron at 65% and 70% in the rock itself, straight out the cliff face. It is simply a matter of loading the ore off the ships already supplying ore to Japan and drop it into the plant and build up a layer. The ore will solidify with weathering on the outer layers. In other words, you put on the outer layer, you put the pure iron, because you can crush that and have it ready for you in Australia. A shell will form and radiation will be absorbed into the iron ore, and combined with boric acid in powder form, the radiation will be absorbed. As I have been telling you for decades, the men who are in high places are full of demons. They are controlled by the lusts of the possessions, and if they step out of line, they are murdered. I will show you how and why in another presentation. The point is, the record of the events proves I am telling you the truth. You are made in the image of God, and therefore the righteous can, when all pulling together, cause miracles to occur. As I am the creator, I can show you how to do it. This is where the Fukushima is, straight line from Dampier. Notice that New Zealand is 888 miles between highest and lowest latitudes, which is Jesus in Greek gematria. Now, there's no sales going on for cars exporting out of Toyota. They're lined up on these ships. There's hundreds of thousands of them. However, you've got a production plant which you can take these and drop them from helicopter from very high positions so that the people flying a helicopter doesn't get radiated, and drop them around a circle around the plants. Right? Otherwise, you've got this kind of thing that came out of Russia. Gorbachev, a Christian, said, how long is this going to go on? Another 800 years? Or until the second Jesus Christ is born? This is a cloud, one of the clouds that was taken by satellite from Chernobyl. This man, he was the designer of the what is called a sarcophagus. That's what it looks like. It was all done by remote control. This is a new one they're trying to build over the whole lot. It's much easier to build this one now than it was when it was totally radioactivity. This man says that 100 kilos of plutonium is inside the reactor, so if it goes off again, this is what's going to happen. And it's enough to kill 100 trillion people, billion people. There's your Chernobyl in the background and how you work it out with the on the internet. You can work out what 1 microgram is in 100 kilos of plutonium. That's nothing compared to Fukushima. This doctor was jailed for 5 years for revealing the cover-up. This man, he committed suicide in the government. There's the babies that are eating apples and so forth grown in the area, and of course it's all highly radioactivity. There's the radioactivity there, 0.553. This man, Yuri Bandashevsky, he's an entomologist. This is what the tests he's done with the same amount of radiation going into mice. Everyone deformed from the 1 litre. Let's just remember what Gorbachev says. Until the second Jesus Christ is born. Well, I'm already here. He didn't know it. They should know it. I have been telling you repeatedly, it's in the Cauldron Bible, which was taught in 60 universities in Glastonbury, England, and I was there between the ages of 12 and 30, so I wasn't in India, I wasn't anywhere else, I was in Glastonbury, and it was Henry VIII that went there and destroyed it all. Then God laid his hand upon man, saying, now you are even as I, except you sleep therein, enclosed in matter, in the kingdom of illusion, while I dwell here in the freedom of reality and truth. It is not for me to come down to you, but for you to reach out to me. Now, this is a film that was watched last night, and it shows how the demons are inside men and women, and this Roddy Piper, the wrestler, Roddy Piper, he's a Canadian wrestler, and he's 10 years younger than I. He was a very famous man at one stage, and he was asked to do this movie many, many years ago. And he put the sunglasses on, and they were special glasses that took away the inability to see through the skin of the person. So that person on the right, there's a normal person, and the three in the background, they're the ones that's come to invade and take over the planet. So they put it down as like aliens. Well, it is aliens. They are demons they are reincarnated with demons in them. This man on the right is asking this one who is a very successful businessman how he can make it. So that's the story. Trust in the Lord. Give me a call.
All right, I'm going to read a document that came to our notice last night. Thank you, Andy Peacher, who sent the link to this. It did disappear from our end. We found this morning that pages were not loading, the server could not be found, and I got the document through somebody in the USA who was able to open up the sites. But from our end, all those sites are not available to us after I did read it last night. Is Fukushima burning? This is the report of Major General Albert N. Stubblebine, the 3rd US Army retired. Now, I'll read through the main gist of this document. Is fuel pool 4 on fire, spewing vast amounts of vaporized radioactive material into the air or water? Or is it fuel pool 3 or something else? We do not have a definitive answer, in part because of the draconian Japanese law which imposes penalties, including incarceration for sharing information which is negative to Fukushima, nuclear technology and its consequences. What we do know is there is no mention of this event in the Japanese media, since disseminating accurate but negative information about radiation is an act against the state. Alerted by a friend that there might be an escalation of the dire situation at Fukushima, we viewed the compressed time TEPCO video time-stamped May the 20th, 2014, and searched for up-to-date information. What we found was a 21-hour-old radiation reading at Fukushima of 121 USieverts per hour, a disastrously high dose. More recent Updates were not available at that time, since the radiation monitoring site, ordinarily updating every 10 seconds, provided no updates following that reading. We immediately contacted Ambassador Mitsui Murata, known worldwide as the conscience of Fukushima, and sent him the information we had found. He shared our information with persons and agencies from which he hoped to get a clear answer on the situation, including the Office of the Prime Minister and TEPCO CEO, and various Japanese government ministers, including the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. After receiving their answers, he wrote back to us. There's a break in this particular document because I had to get it from Rodney in the USA, but the response was that there was no response from anybody and that he would keep them updated if he did hear anything, but bottom line, he was getting nowhere. We never heard back about what they found when they looked into the cause of the fire shown in the video. We repeated this cycle twice and received similar assurances, but no more clarification on the events themselves by the competent authorities, despite Murata-san's best efforts. Ambassador Murata is as concerned as we are and used his considerable influence attempting to get clear answers. To date, none have been forthcoming. What actually happened at Fukushima on the night of May 20th, 2014? What is likely to happen next? What are the real risks of continuing escalating fire or similar dangerous events that could lead to an even worse, catastrophic, runaway, explosive radioactive event? Make no mistake, the situation at Fukushima is already cataclysmic. Everyone on the planet will pay the price of this event, and many already are, with an increase in excess deaths, already documented by the US government, rising cancer, diabetes, infertility and birth defect rates in Japan, the US and elsewhere due to escalating genome disruption syndrome. Now there's photographs of the webcam that night, and there's also a map as this orange-red glow followed by obscuring smoke was captured on the webcam. At about the same time, a spike is noted on the radiation readings, and several questions arise when we examine the facts as we currently know them. Firstly, the web feed. It appears that the TEPCO live feed webcam may have been altered at several points. I studied many of the TEPCO live feed compressed segments and have grave suspicions about their validity. For one thing, the video in question has the wrong date on it. If the feed has not been tampered with, that is impossible. For another, there are anomalies in the transitions between compression segments. 1 second of live feed equals 6 seconds of footage compressed 6:1. Other people observing these tapes have noted alteration artifacts during the event in question, which suggests the same thing that I noted. Now, he quotes an example of a comment by JEC, whose qualifications are unknown, however, posted at Fukushima Diary on May the 22nd, 2014 at 9:15 a.m. Quoting, "I did see it," referring to the red-orange event. So it was something. If it had been any other webcam, people would call it fire. Since the view was hazy with smoke or steam or whatever in that area, all I can say is red-orange fire-like glow came out of the back or side of reactor 4 area, spread over the area of reactor 3, and then lots of hazy fog, smoke, steam. It could have been the ALPS system plastic, in brackets, multi-nuclide removal system. And there is a note here, this system failed on March the 18th, 2014, and has not, according to the most current information, been restarted. Now, the webcams look normal on May the 22nd in the dark, with some fog emissions or something coming off the right side of the screen of the TBS webcam web feed. Now, he goes into the quality. There are only 2 live webcams in a facility large enough to house 6 fuel storage pools. 55 dry storage casks, and 6 acknowledged, apparently one is hidden, nuclear reactors. So what he's saying is that there's actually 7, one is hidden. Their very poor quality is highly troubling. When I consider the quality, or rather the lack thereof, of the optics, that in itself is both troubling and highly suspicious. Japanese technical capacity to install crystal clear imaging systems and maintain them in perfect working condition is abundant, yet the only 2 cameras available to the public are grainy, indistinct, and of questionable reliability. Why are multiple camera live feeds not available to the public? Why are these images not of high quality? It is hard to trust the information we are receiving when the lack of adequate optical coverage and quality suggests intentional obfuscation. Secondly, radiation monitoring. The radiation near real-time systems went offline at the exact time there would have been a tremendous increase in readings and put back online 1.5 to 2.5 days later, with one system showing radiation levels suddenly dipping lower than they have been in months, and the other showing no corresponding dip. An observer noted that the average of the previous levels and the dipped values is exactly 0.000, a phenomenon not seen in nature. If that is true, and I do not currently have access to enough information to verify this conclusion, then we would be forced to conclude definitely that intentional tampering of the relevant data had taken place. Number 3, the smoke, mist and vapour coming from the fuel pool or reactor 4 where it is located, according to my reading of the map. Those buildings themselves are covered by video angle of coverage. According to my investigation of weather conditions in Fukushima at the time of concern, there should not have been smoke, mist or vapour visible, and moving as it did during these video feeds. There are no atmospheric conditions of fog, wind, etc., which would explain the smoke, vapour or mist, which continued long after the initial red-orange light was seen in the video feed referenced. Now, the red-orange light itself, this is point number 4, the sudden blast of red-orange light, heat, smoke directly in front of the webcam, but at some distance has not been accounted for. I'm not going to read what he says the troll suggests about it being the lights of a truck or a ship. That's he pretty well says it's ridiculous and they'd all be dead by now anyway. So number 5, the ALPS, the water filtration system, designed to remove several, but by no means all types of radioactive nucleus species or nuclides from the water at Fukushima, was shut down 3 times in the 10 days prior to March 20, 2014, and then after more malfunctions it was turned off at that time. One observer suggested that the red-orange fire-like episode on the video was the sudden and brief conflagration of the plastics in the ALPS system. I have no way to test this hypothesis or challenge it, but it is a possibility. To my knowledge, the high-tech ALPS system purchased from France has never been restarted since it was shut down, accounting for the decision in the last week for TEPCO to discharge high radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. On April the 24th, 2014, TEPCO reported to the Japanese Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, or METI, that the total volume of tritium is 34,000,000,000,000,000,000 becquerels. 1 radioactive decay per second, that's General Burt's note, at Fukushima plant. Now this figure represents 3.4 quadrillion decays per second just of tritium alone. Although this enormous amount of radiation is 230 times much as the annual safety limit of 4 nuclear reactors to discharge into the sea, the figure represents only the tritium decay and says nothing at all about all the other radioactive elements present at the plant and contained in the water, such as plutonium-242, uranium-238, cesium-134 and 137, cobalt-60, strontium-90, potassium-40, etc., 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 all of which is now being actively discharged into the Pacific and continues to contaminate groundwater and the atmosphere. Number 6, the officials in Fukushima Prefecture and Japan, who are charged with protecting the interests of the public, have recently announced the following. A. TEPCO was being permitted by the government regulatory bodies to discharge 561 tonnes of bypass contaminated groundwater to the Pacific on May the 21st, 2014. Now, initially, the TTTT, that is the TEPCO truth-telling team, stated that the discharge water was only contaminated 87% of the permitted discharge level, which is an artificially high and very dangerous, but industry-friendly level anyway. Later, the TTTT admitted that water was contaminated well above the supposed permitted level, but that they will continue discharging this water into the Pacific anyway. When the ALPS system failed apparently terminally earlier this year, any hope of even partial water purification apparently vanished. As mentioned above, the levels of contamination are cited only in terms of tritium without reference to such disastrously dangerous isotopes which bioaccumulate or concentrate up the food chain, as plutonium-244 and uranium-235-238. The discharge will only decrease the groundwater flowing into buildings by an estimated 10 to 25%. So there will be a continual need to repeat and increase these discharges. Extremely high levels of radioactive material continue to be measured far from fish near Fukushima. Sorry, that reads extremely high levels of radioactive material continued to be measured from fish near Fukushima. For example, on May 16, 2014, TEPCO announced that spot-belly rockfish caught in Fukushima harbour contained 193,000 becquerels per kilogram of cesium-134-137. Cesium-137 is not a natural isotope and is used to trace nuclear reactor contamination. It is important to note once again that the contamination level measured is solely that for one radioactive element among many. Many such dangerous contaminants, including potassium-40, strontium-90, cobalt-60, uranium-235, and plutonium-234. C. Fukushima Prefecture announced that it will open 2 beaches this summer for unrestricted swimming at Yotsukara and Nakoso, without analysing the beach sand for radiation. When they measured the beach sand last year, they found 3,167 SQ per kilogram of cesium-134-137. Not only will they not analyse the sand, the information on last year's findings have been removed from their website. No explanation has been forthcoming for either their current decision or the removal of last year's data. The level of contamination in the seafloor at the swimming sites is 93.8 becquerels per kilogram, a level just slightly below the food contamination limit of 100 becquerels per kilogram. It is exceedingly unlikely that both beaches have the same level of radiation on their sea floor, but only one number has been reported. All swimmers, including children and pregnant women, will be welcome on the unmeasured sand of the beaches. D. Fukushima prefectural government initiated Midet, a Fukushima food promotion shop in Nihonbashi on April 13, 2014, in order to fight harmful rumour against Fukushima products. Safety measurements have, we understand, not been provided, but on May the 22nd and 23rd, 2014, the new shop, which is supported by such Japanese companies as JAL, Japan Airlines, they provided free milk and cafe or latte and rice to visitors. E. Fukushima Prefecture officials assured the world that here is no likely relationship between the increases in thyroid cancers in Fukushima children from the 17 reported cases on December 31st, 2013, to 50 diagnosed with the same disease on March 30th, just 3 months later. So after they have failed to provide an alternative explanation to the staggering increase in cancer cases among children living near the nuclear reactor, the population of 50 children with thyroid lumps, which are apparently not being further investigated, and then by March 16, 2012, a staggering 60% of Fukushima children under 12 evaluated by Dr. Miura, the director of Iwase General Hospital, were found to have diabetes type 1 requiring insulin for the rest of their lives. These children live in temporary dwellings in Sakugawa City, Fukushima, since their previous dwellings were declared unfit for habitation following the events of March 11, 2011. The erudite hospital director shared the cause of the astonishing diabetes incidents: emotional stress following relocation. He made no mention of the fact that the radioactive isotope yttrium-90 bioaccumulates in the pancreas, where it is well known to cause both diabetes and pancreatic cancer. Moving on to point 7, the same cast of characters, including but not limited to the TTTT, who have been lying to us since the beginning, are saying the same things to us that were demonstrable lies before this possible latest emergency. It is possible they have departed from their previous script and are actually telling us the truth this time. There is no new degradation of the already disastrous situation. The video feeds only appear to have been mysteriously misdated. The red-orange flash has no significance, even though it is a unique event without explanation so far. The lack of automatic updates on the near real-time radiation monitoring system and the subsequent odd dip and apparent zero average is merely an unusual coincidence. We do have the choice to believe them now, I suppose, if we choose to. Since they are saying the same things they have said from the beginning, no problem, no harm to human health, nothing to worry about, it's safe to restart the nuclear reactors all over Japan. If there were anything to worry about, we would tell you. Having passed the draconian State Secrets Act and signed into law December 31st, 2012, the responsible parties could not reveal the realities of the nuclear situation in Japan, even if they were somehow so inclined. They would be subject to jail terms of up to 10 years for doing so, according to the chilling law which criminalized truth-telling for anyone who possesses nuclear information if that truth is not favorable to Fukushima and nuclear-related matters in general. Number 8, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that conventional nuclear engineering cannot solve the problems at Fukushima, and that those problems are not solved. Even if we dodged the nuclear bullet this time, and there is no event stabilizing the situation at Fukushima right now, and in brackets he says a possibility, of course. Simply put, there is no conceivable way that we can continue to dodge the nuclear contamination bullet collectively and individually. Water containing that bullet is being pumped into the Pacific and leaking into ground and underground water. It can be spewed upward in a myriad of ways and circumstances to circle the planet, raining destruction on us all. We must fervently hope that the levels of denial in official and academic circles is only for public consumption, and that behind closed doors with the curtains drawn, someone somewhere really understands what the issues and risks are. If that is the case, then they will continue to declare that everything is fine while they work feverishly to find and deploy the novel engineering and scientific solutions that do exist, but which are publicly ignored totally and vigorously with heaping mounds of silence mixed with generous gobs of lies of both commission and omission. Following the conclusion of this report, you will find a list of radioprotective and immune system supporting nutrients to deal with the issues presented to us all by Fukushima. Dr. Rima, our medical director, is currently formulating a system of radioprotective nutrients which will act synergistically to provide protection to your DNA and vital parts of your body to keep you healthy. Meanwhile, I strongly advise you to incorporate these nutrients into your regimen. And he is saying to recall that Japan is about to reopen the beaches at Fukushima without first testing the sand for radiation, and reminding us that the last time they were tested, the readings were 31 times greater than the maximum amount allowed in food. The general goes on to say, as a general officer trained in interpretation of intelligence, I must conclude that TEPCO and the other competent authorities are being led by general incompetence and general confusion, or are intentionally following general deception in obscuring a growing threat to the health and safety of the entire Northern Hemisphere. He says, I will continue to analyse reports and keep you informed of critical developments, and signs off as General Burt. Major General Albert N. Stubblebine III, US Army retired and now President of National Solutions Foundation. And then there are many links to the substances that Dr. Rima Ludlow is working on. Boron is one of them, organic denatured whey protein, sea vegetables, resveratrol, apple pectin, grapeseed extract, spirulina, chlorella, ginkgo leaf extract, green tea, polyphenols, garlic, vitamin C, and natural vitamin E. So there you have it. Also nano silver. So that is the report that Andy sent last night. I immediately opened it and read it out loud. However, this morning, clicking on the same links, it is completely gone from this house. Joel cannot open it. It was Rodney in the USA who could open it from his end and copy-pasted to send it as a document so that I could read it.
So it's extremely important that this is kept circulating.
Yes. Share this document. Joel has uploaded it to the... Joel, what's the name of that site? Dropbox, and it's also going up to our Scribd site, the Christ is Back Scribd site. But yes, so this is one document they do not want to be circulating. It is not, as you heard clearly, there is still the unknown about what looked to be a fire on May the 20th last week. There is much, as you said, the situation's already cataclysmic. It doesn't matter what that fire was. If it never existed, the situation just already is cataclysmic.
Well, it's 300 times more dangerous than Chernobyl.
Yes.
And at Chernobyl, hundreds of, if not thousands of helicopter pilots died.
Yes.
And thousands of people that volunteered, very brave people went there.
Yes.
And certain death.
They had a total of 500,000 over the course until they had a... Now, Joel asked today, how soon did they get onto containing and building the shell?
That is quite a while, because they had difficulty in trying to find out what to do. Yes. And it's just that I happened to watch it yesterday after I'd already designed the idea of how to take the iron ore out of Western Australia. Because what happened was the Japanese, they built and bought and paid for that entire region, and they've done a marvellous job. The amount of iron ore that comes out of it has been supplying Japan with all this iron ore for all these years. And everything is there, so they've got shiploads of the stuff going back and forwards, and all they've got to do is take it into the refineries, put it into trains, get it up close to where the helicopters can pick it up, take it up way above the area that's not contaminated, and just drop it onto it and let it build up. Now, I did suggest that they can take all of the vehicles that are now going to be impossible to sell and crush them up into, well, it's about 1 metre by 500 by 500. What's that? 3 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet blocks. And they can drop those in. Now, a helicopter can carry those things, no problem, and build up a dam around it. But they also have to divert the aquifer coming down. And that's easy to do also, because you can do that with high explosives. And you can drop them from helicopters. So the aquifer is what actually supplies Tokyo with water, the whole region. So why waste it? And in particular, the reason they built the reactors where they did, it is the aquifer water flows straight underneath it. Now, what the Russians said, that when they started to try and cool down their meltdown, they was pouring water into it, which is what they have to do. But the water started to go through to the floor below and formed a pool. Then they found that because they can't go in and look at it, but then with their testing they found that there was danger of it crashing through because it melts through concrete, right? And it was in danger of dropping through to the next floor. If it had done that, it would have taken out Europe. Now we also learned today Gorbachev, who must be a Catholic or at least a Christian of some sort, he said that how long is it going to last? 800 years? Or until the second coming of Jesus as a man, is what he was saying. Right? Well, wouldn't it be nice if they already knew in Russia? So that's why I'm a little bit annoyed with the Russian authorities like Putin. He knows who I am. Saying nothing. You could end it overnight.
Yes.
So my suspicion is anyone who's not talking about me is my enemy. No matter how good they appear to be. Right? So until Putin gets on board, is he a good guy, bad guy cop sort of thing? Acting good now. Because the hammer and sickle of Russia is they're going to get their way. They come in, smash, pull back, come back, reap, go in, smash again, come back, reap. That's what the hammer and sickle is all about. So what do you think about it?
Well, I had no thoughts about Putin until I listened to him in an interview. This is now probably 3 years ago. And when I heard what he had to say, and just his manner of conduct, I thought, this is a good guy. I actually thought then he's a truth teller and he's a good guy.
There's one major truth he's not telling.
Well,
Look, now, put it the other way around. You were searching for me for all these years. If he's such a good man, how come he hasn't been searching for me and been in a position to send all his agents out to find out if there is this character is true or not?
Yeah.
That's what a leader has to do.
Well, when we were in Egypt, it was the fellow in Luxor that said, with El-Sisi and the Egyptian army, they know where you are every moment. Right. It's Egypt that was supplying intelligence to Israel and the USA and everything, and regarding the Muslim Brotherhood and all that kind of thing. It was the Egyptian army supplying all of the intelligence for the region. And El-Sisi has all of the information concerning the Christ. And he was asking,
same thing.
How many people know this? That was his big concern. How many people in Egypt know this? Because we'd already been in Cairo for all this. Now with Putin, did he get the information? Adam and Claudia sent it. It doesn't matter though, because he, as head of KGB when he would know exactly what's going through.
He would know how many sheets of shit paper I use. Hello? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's about it.
The litmus test. Are they talking about you?
They're talking, but they ain't doing nothing.